As 26.5-point underdogs, only Lloyd Christmas would like the chances for Oregon State to upset number 6 Washington at Research Stadium. With Jake Luton out indefinitely, Daryl Garrettson stepped in as the starter at quarterback. So you're saying there's a chance. Maybe Garrettson back at his 7th start. He'll mix things up at least on offense, right? He had a bye week to prepare for the salty Washington defense, one of the best in the country. His counterpart, Jake Browning. Dad played quarterback at Oregon State back in the day. Had a pretty good mustache, too. That was a storyline during the week. They called it the Rodent Bowl Saturday night at Research. It was a battle between Gophers and Beavers in Corvallis, and it rained most of the game, so you would think advantage Beavers given their comfort with water, right? But PJ Fleck brought his own oars to Corvallis. Oregon State would rock their 11-strong jerseys. Beavers actually a 2.5-point favorite in Vegas in this matchup. That is a Christmas present to those of you in the betting world. Willie Taggart calls him the real deal Holyfield. Corey Hall calls him a third running back in the backfield. Arizona's Khalil Tate has gone from a second stringer in the desert to college football's Heisman darling. This dude has 5,000 rushing yards and 64 total touchdowns. Don't you ever question how respected Royce Freeman is in that locker room. No one is respected more by the Oregon players, the team, the coaching staff than Royce Freeman. I thought that criticism from those ESPN guys was just unwarranted and kind of uneducated, to be honest. My biggest thing with Washington State, I know the offense gets all the praise. I think the defense could arguably be the best part of their team, especially that D-line. We've praised Alex Grinch on this show for a long time as one of the hot names who's a coordinator out there in college football. They got after Darnold. That was the worst I've ever seen Sam Darnold play. He's not having a good year, but he was horrible against Washington State. Herbert's the MVP of this team. He's probably the only player that really, his absence dramatically affects the team. That has, partially to do with the quarterback position and partially to do with how good he is, and the depth behind him just isn't on Justin Herbert's level, and that's not a diss to either of those guys behind him. Taylor Alley's been, an exceptional backup during his time here, and Braxton Burmeister's just a freshman. The fact of the matter is Justin Herbert's an NFL caliber quarterback. First of all, you do have to give ASU credit. Manny Wilkins is a good quarterback. I don't know about those long sleeves, though, bro. But number 2, Oregon just came out flat. They did. I mean, at 14 first-half points, and they scored that touchdown off that muffed punt near the end of the first half. They didn't look like they were ready to play at least on the level that ASU was in terms of the excitement and the energy, and that's been the calling card for this team. 42-14 at the half. Mike Riley's like, oh my gosh, I've seen this movie before. Justin Herbert was spectacular. 21-25, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns in that first half, and then Oregon did get a little conservative. I think they tried to run out the clock, and Aiden Schneider missed a field goal, atypical of him. We were maybe expecting Royce or TBJ to break a long run and just provide that knockout punch, but it never happened. You got to give credit to Nebraska for locking down Oregon, and then the Ducks only threw the ball 8 times in the second half, which is easy to sit up here as an armchair quarterback and say that's a mistake, but when you were coasting as well as you were in the first half, to shut down the passing game more or less is something that I know that Willie Taggart probably regrets a little bit. 21 NFL scouts were in Laramie, Wyoming today for Oregon's game against the Cowboys, and presumably the majority of those scouts were there to watch Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen, but by game's end, it was the quarterback on the other side, Oregon's Justin Herbert, who impressed the most. A college football Saturday that began with Lee Corso dressed as Lady Liberty in New York City ended with some Pac-12 after dark. They called it the Rodent Bowl Saturday night at Research. It was a battle between Gophers and Beavers in Corvallis, and it rained most of the game, so you would think advantage Beavers given their comfort with water, right? But PJ Fleck brought his own oars to Corvallis. Willie Taggart calls him the real deal Holyfield. Corey Hall calls him a third running back in the backfield. Arizona's Khalil Tate has gone from a second stringer in the desert to college football's Heisman darling. The return of former Oregon wide receiver Darren Carrington to Autzen on Halloween as a Ute with the Ducks in desperate need of a win was a juicy storyline throughout the week. The quote heard around the Oregon weight room was delivered by Beavers interim head coach Corey Hall on Monday. 24 hours later, the Ducks coaching staff reportedly read Hall's words, which referred to last year's Civil War win for the Beavers and kind of labeled Oregon as soft. Ducks players responded to media questions this week about that quote, but the team said the best way they could respond would be on the field in the 121st Civil War.